You're listening to Sports Radio Detroit.
All right, hello everyone, and welcome back to the Platte NBA Minute here on Sports Radio Detroit. I am, of course, your host, Chris Platte, and I'm very, very excited for this episode, everyone. So, this is about the All-Star Weekend. It is NBA All-Star Weekend, and I kid you not, this is my favorite weekend. This is my Super Bowl weekend. This is my Christmas. This is my time of year, man. I really love this. I really look forward to the All Star Weekend every year. I'm a big nerd. I watch everything that transpires during All Star Weekend. My parents will always tell me, my dad especially, he'll always love watching this with me because he's like, ever since you were a kid, you loved All Star Weekend and you loved all the gimmicky games and all of that, and so what better way to celebrate All Star Weekend than I'm going to go through the history of All Star Weekend? Trust me, it's going to be more fun than it sounds. And then also kind of just talk about the field today and make my predictions for this week. And also, I want to hear your predictions. So, just an FYI, these predictions are going to be totally on the cuff, on the spot, because in all my years of watching All-Star Weekend, the one thing I learned is that you cannot overthink this. You just have to go with gut feeling, and most of the time you're closer to being right when you go with your gut than when you really just sit and try and map this out. But this is fun, I'm going to go through the events that are happening this weekend, but also there's some events from the past that I'll get into that I wish they would bring back. So let's kick this off in chronological order and start on Friday. So Friday is the NBA All-Star Celebrity Game. Now this is a very fun event. This started all the way back in 2003. I've been watching this one for about a decade, as far back as I can remember. Back in the days when it was Terrell Owens, Chris Tucker, all sorts of celebrities, and Justin Bieber was in it a couple times. More recently, Quavo, one of the acts from the Migos. So if you know rap and you know me and I know rap, you'll know definitely who Quavo is. He's a superstar. He's actually the reigning MVP, and he's confirmed to be back. But yeah, the game's kind of changed over the last few years. It started as something that was just mostly celebrities, but now it's become kind of a mix of retired NBA players, WNBA players, actors, musicians, and athletes from other sports. Like Usain Bolt was in it one year. The Usain Bolt Kevin Hart rivalry was pretty fun. Michael Rappaport and the Kevin Hart, that was probably the peak of All Star Celebrity Game for me. I loved Michael Rappaport instigating, and just being Michael Rappaport, I guess, is probably the best way to describe him. Common's also been in the event, so shout out to Common, another one of my favorite musicians. But yeah, so I kind of they kind of leaned away from the celebrities and focused more on like NBA players and WNBA players, and that to me was kind of a mistake. I really wish they would kind of, as the NBA is getting more and more popular, I wish they would kind of get more A-list celebrities. They usually, how the celebrity game works, they usually have about 1 to 2, maybe 3 A-list celebrities, and then the rest are kind of B and C-list, and just actors or actresses that I haven't that I don't even know. Now, granted, I'm not the most in touch with Hollywood, but for the most part, it's kind of frustrating when I see when I get to see all these people that I don't really know play basketball. It's fun, I'm not shading it by any means, but I just wish that the NBA would kind of really put more emphasis on it and create a culture where it was like the biggest stars of the stars. Like you could get a J. Cole, you could get a Drake, you could get 2 Chainz, all these celebrities that are super super huge. I would love to see them in basketball and just playing basketball, because I know a lot of them play basketball together anyways in their little Hollywood circles. It's a really fun game. I really enjoy it. There's a lot of gimmicks. one of the craziest things I remember growing up watching this one was Arnie Duncan, the Secretary of Education during the Obama administration. He was an incredible basketball player. I believe he even got a triple double in one of the All Star Celebrity games. Like, he was just an absolute monster. And he was really fun to watch. But yeah, I enjoyed this game. The roster this year is looking pretty interesting to me. So I'll read it off to you, and I'll tell you who I'm excited for. So Mike Coulter, the actor from Luke Cage, which is interesting because Luke Cage, last I heard, got canceled, but there was a big pushback, so I'm wondering if it's coming back. Chris Daughtry, Terrence J, on-air host, actor, Dr. Oz. So that to me, when I seen that was pretty funny. Rhapsody, shout out to Rhapsody, one of my favorite female rappers in the game, and she actually came out with an incredible album. I think it finished third in my 2017 list, Layla's Wisdom. It's an incredible album that I listen to all the time. I actually just returned to it last week. JB Smooth, he's really funny, so I'm looking forward to him. Steve Smith, AJ Wilson, Jay Williams, and Jason Weinman. And then also that's all one team. Another team has Rodney 2K from 2K, Ray Allen, AJ Buckley, Bad Bunny. He's a recording artist who's on Cardi B's big song, I Like It. He's a huge Latin recording artist, mega pop star. Mark Larzi, I believe is how you say it, Larzi. I never pronounce it right, but anyways, he's one of the co-owners of the Bucks. Quavo again, Brad Williams, comedian from the About Last Night podcast, and also hit Adam Ray as well is from the Late Night podcast, is also there. So it's a okay roster list. I guess if these guys could play basketball, or these men and women can play basketball, then I really think it's going to be a fun game, because I guess ultimately that's at the end of the day what decides the product. But with that being said, there are some years where there was some really terrible basketball, like Kevin Hart, and that was some of the most entertaining basketball at the same time, even though it was absolutely horrendous. And Kevin Hart, I think, won the MVP with like 2 points and a rebound, and it was a very generous rebound. But yeah, the commentators always have fun with it too. So this is a really cool event. It's a fun way. Me and my dad love kicking off All-Star Weekend with this one. Let's jump to the next one in the Friday night, and the only other the only other event in Friday night, and that is the Rising Stars Challenge. So this one kind of took like several iterations, and I really love where it's at now. But in 1994, the first 5 years, it was just called the Rookie Game, and it was composed entirely of first-year players. Then for the next decade or so, till about 2011, the game was called the Rookie Challenge, and it had a team of rookies against a team of second-year players, and that was fun. And then in 2012, the game became what's known as the Rising Stars Challenge, with a new format, which is first and second year players, but they were drafted in a fantasy by two honorary captains, and that was always fun. And then now in 2015, it's switched to the Rising Stars Challenge, which is USA versus Team USA versus Team World, which is the current format it uses. I don't mind the USA versus World format, but with the popularity of the All-Star Draft, I would love to see this go back to that. I think the height of this was the 2012-2015 era, when there was the fantasy draft. That was fun, but this is a very fun event, very high scoring, not a lot of defense played. It's really, really fun to like predict who's going to win MVP and things of that nature, because it's just so hard, man. It's just one person gets hot for a stretch, shoots like 10 shots, like Jamal Murray. He took like 10 shots and he hit 6 threes in the span of 3 minutes, and all of a sudden, his points shot up, and he ended up, I think, walking away with the MVP that year. So, This is a very fluid event. This one, as far as predictions go, I'm usually right about the team that wins, but I'm almost always wrong about the MVP just because of the way the event goes, where it's always just so ebb and flow, and a 3 minute stretch can totally change who's the front runner for the MVP. Just it's a very high scoring game. It's usually in the 160s, sometimes even in the 180s. Sometimes I believe it's reached the 200s. I'm not sure off the top of my head. I'd have to do some fact checking there, but yeah, it's a very fun event, and it's always very interesting to see. I love watching it because it gives these young guys a stage to show off. So the rosters for this year. So for Team US, Jared Allen, Marvin Bagley the third, Lonzo Ball, who won't play because of his injury, John Collins, De'Aaron Fox, Jaren Jackson Jr., Kevin Knox, Kyle Kuzma, Donovan Mitchell, and Jason Tatum. The Team World roster: OG Anunoby, DeAndre Ayton, Bogdanovich, Luka Doncic, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, Lauri Markkanen, Josh Okogie, Cedi Osman, and Ben Simmons. Now, as far as this one goes, I would lean USA just because you have the Donovan Mitchell, Jason Tatum, De'Aaron Fox, Marvin Bagley, Jared Allen, Jaren Jackson Jr., who's been phenomenal this year, Kevin Knox, Kyle Kuzma. You have a nice balance on that roster. John Collins, who's turned into an absolute stud in Atlanta. But the team world roster. At the end of the day, Luka Doncic and Ben Simmons. I'm gonna roll with that team. I'm gonna go with Team World, and Luka. I think he's looking. I think he's looking to make his mark, and I think he knows that the fans are there to watch him put on a show. So I think he's gonna go for the MVP. I'm gonna go with him. At the end of the day, I wouldn't be surprised if somebody like a Shea Gilgeous-Alexander ended up walking away with the MVP. But if Team World is gonna win, most likely the MVP is gonna be Luka, or maybe DeAndre Ayton, because there's not a lot of defense being played. He can get a lot of easy dunks, and that can really rack up some points real quick. But yeah, I'll go with Luka for the MVP. So this is going to be a very, very fun event. Again, Kevin Knox was the guy who replaced Lonzo Ball on the injury list, and this is very fun. This is just simply fun, pure offense basketball. It's really just a ridiculously fast pace. I mean, the Suns 7 second or less looks like the Memphis Grizzlies, the grinded out Grizzlies in this event with how fast. I mean, I'm telling you, literally within 3 to 5 seconds, every possession, a shot's being thrown up. It is a very, very fast game, and it is very fun to watch. Again, my only wish is that they would separate the team World USA. It's not bad, but I wish they would go back to the draft format, because to me, I've just always enjoyed the drafting aspect. I do it all the time in 2K. I always fantasy draft. I just enjoy the aspect of drafting random players and putting them together and kind of forming interesting combinations. Which I know none of this means anything in the grand scheme of things, but I would just like to see, what if Luka and De'Aaron Fox played together, Luka and Marvin Bagley, or just some unique Ben Simmons and Donovan Mitchell. Like, what would that look like? Or Ben Simmons and Tatum. Just some interesting combinations, and we do get some interesting ones here. But again, I would like to see it go back to a draft aspect. All right, so that closes out Friday night. Saturday night, this is my favorite night of All-Star Weekend without a doubt. You got the skills challenge, the 3-point shootout, the slam dunk contest. This is the event-based night, and I love the games and the competitions. One thing before I get into the events that are actually happening, one thing that I really wish they'd bring back is they used to have the higher shooting competition, where it was technically called the Shooting Stars competition. It was held from 2004 to 2015. It went through several iterations where it would have an NBA player, a current NBA player from a team. It would be broken up by cities. So like Detroit was actually really good at it. Maybe that's why I like it. But Detroit was pretty good at it. But you'd have an NBA player, a current NBA player from that team, a WNBA player from that affiliate from the same city, and then a legend, an NBA legend from that franchise. And it was just a fun little event, and it had, I believe, two mid ranges, two threes, and a half court shot. And it was just time based, and fastest one to get there, fastest time wins. And so it was a really fun event. I really enjoyed it. It was something that took only 15 minutes, but I don't know. I've been starting to feel like these last couple years with the skills challenge, the 3-point shootout, the slam dunk contest. I feel like they need one or two more events just to beef it up, because the skills challenge goes by very fast, and then all of a sudden you're at the 3-point contest. And even though that's like right before the main event, the slam dunk contest, the 3-point contest is something that in a lot of people's eyes has become overall consistently the main event in some aspects, because the slam dunk, as we'll talk about, has had a lot of ups and downs, especially within the last decade. So a lot of people love the 3-point contest, myself included, more than the slam dunk contest. And so that's always been something that's been prevalent, and I wish they would have more between the skills challenge and the 3-point contest to kind of beef it up, or something that goes before the skills challenge, because it seems like a half hour, 20 minutes in, you're already approaching the 3-point contest, and you're already like, wow, this is it. This is like the big moment of the night. So I think they got to bring something back. They've also done the horse competition. That could be fun if the players had like a real drive and total creative control over what they do, and they just came up with ridiculous shots. Like Steph Curry would obviously win hands down, but like if players did like a lot of the tunnel shots and things like that Steph Curry does, I think it would be very interesting. I think you could get a lot of interesting concepts. I remember Rondo and Kevin Durant doing it back in 2010. It was very fun, but I don't know if that's the end all be all. That could be a little nice 15-minute contest. The only problem is with that one is that the timing is hard to determine, because you could have the last two players stuck on the final letter forever, and then all of a sudden that pushes everything back. So I think that's why they cut it, but I'm not sure. They also had the Legends Classic game from 1984 to 1993. It was just retired NBA players. It was like an all-star game. They have the Big Three. The Big Three is like a big deal. Everybody loves it. Why doesn't Big Three partner with the NBA and do a little all-star exhibition game? Why don't they do it then during All-Star Weekend? That would be a really fun idea. I think they would have a lot of fun. Now, this Legends Classic game was canceled due to frequent injuries. With obviously a lot of these athletes aren't in the physical NBA shape that they were in, so it kind of led to some actual injuries, and that actually incited the Rise Who Stars challenge to replace it, which happened on Friday. But I wish they would do something with this, man. Like if the Big Three got involved, and whether they did threes or fives or whatever, they could do something there, and I think that would be a really, really fun. I think that would be a really fun way to spice up the Saturday night. Maybe you do it on the Friday night, because Friday night has like the games, and this is more like the mini games. But I would love to see them. I would love to see them do something again to shake up Saturday night a little bit. So, and they also had another version of this that was held in the 50s and 60s called the Old Timers game, which was basically the same concept of just retired players and older players. But yeah, so I would love to see something like that to spice up the weekend. But let's get into the events that are on Saturday night and talk about those. So the Skills Challenge. So this one started in 2003. Very fun. It's a timed obstacle course of dribbling, shooting, and passing. And over the years, the skill challenge has changed. The most recent adaptation is allowing bigs to play and making a big bracket a guard bracket or a wing bracket. And that has been a really fun addition because the NBA has gotten to a point now where guys like Anthony Davis, Jokic who's in the contest this year, Karl Anthony Towns, I mean, these 7-footers that do all these sorts of things that a guard can do are absolutely amazing. And you would be surprised. I believe Karl Anthony Towns won it one year, or was it? I think it was Anthony Davis actually that won it. If I'm not mistaken, I'll go and check the history right now. But I know that there have been, the last couple of years, there have been some bigs that have won it. So Kristaps and Karl Anthony Towns, yep, both of those guys won it. Spencer Dinwiddie is the reigning champion. As far as this year's competitors go, let's see here. We got Mike Conley, Luka Doncic, De'Aaron Fox, Nikola Jokic, Kyle Kuzma, Jason Tatum, Nikola Vucevic, and Trae Young. So I was kind of surprised when the roster came out that Spencer Dinwiddie wasn't allowed back to defend his title. I mean, again, I don't know how big of a deal these are to these players, but I certainly get a kick out of these games. The Skills Challenge is a very fun game. If I had to place my money on somebody, I would go De'Aaron Fox just because of his unbelievable speed. But I feel like with this event, as I've seen before, a lot of people get tripped up on the passing. The passing is a very difficult one, so that could make Nikola Jokic a very easy target to win. Just because although he's far from the fastest of these players, he is someone who can absolutely just dime that pass, and that pass has for years and years been the difference between winning and losing. Also the final shot. But I'll go De'Aaron Fox just because of his just sheer quickness, and I won't think too much about it. I'm excited for this one. But let's jump to the 3-point contest. So this event has a little bit more history than the Skills Challenge. So this All-Star Weekend 3-point contest is started in 1986. And it's basically eight participants are picked for the shootout. And so Devin Booker is the defending champion. I believe. Let me check the roster to see if he's actually on this year's roster defending his title. But let me see here. Yes, he is. So he's still on the roster. He's defending his title. The field includes Seth Curry, Steph Curry, Danny Green, Joe Harris, Buddy Hield, Damian Lillard, Chris Middleton, Dirk Nowitzki, and Kemba. I like that they threw in Dirk. Zach Lowe had Dirk on his podcast recently, and he asked Dirk, "Hey, do you think you could get through all the balls in a minute? Do you think you could get through all the racks in just 1 minute and 60 seconds?" And he said he didn't know. He didn't start testing and training for it. But he's gonna know that closer to the All-Star weekend. So I'm sure he's got a good sense. So I wonder, I wonder how he'll do. I would guess he has a bad performance, but I'm really hoping he doesn't. I'd love to see Dirk, because I truly believe this is his last year. He hasn't said it. Zach Lowe tried to get him to say it, but he won't say it because he wants to disappear. He doesn't want to do like a farewell tour. He just wants it to be over when it's over. So he's kind of saying maybe he'll think about coming back next year. But if I had to put money on it, I'd say this is 80 to 90% likely his last year in the NBA. And he's a legend, so I love to see him in this event. He was obviously in his heyday. He was a huge competitor in this field. He was even a former champion, so he adds a fun little element to it. I like the battle of the Curry brothers. That's a little fun. I wish Clay would have joined as well because I also enjoyed the Splash Brothers battle. I remember the first year those two did it together. I remember them. TNT would show shots of both of them as one is shooting, the other one's face and reactions would be on TV, and it was just really fun. Sure they'll do that this year with Steph Curry and Seth Curry. I'm sure they'll do that with the brothers. If I had to take a pick in this year's, it's hard to go against Steph Curry in any 3-point shooting contest. This is a good field. Joe Harris, I feel like, is a real dark horse. Who just, I mean, he's a pure sharpshooter. Basically, the hardcore NBA fans know him because of how great of a sharpshooter he is. Buddy Hield's been fantastic, but I won't pick him because he hit that ridiculous buzzer beater to beat the Pistons earlier this year. So I haven't forgiven you yet, buddy. Damian Lillard, I want to pick Damian Lillard. My eyes just keep floating to Dame, so I think I'm gonna go with Dame. But it's to me, it's between Dame and Devin Booker, and then I think Joe Harris has an outside shot. But I'm gonna predict that a Curry does not win, and I think that's a big enough prediction. Also, Kemba Walker, hometown hero, because this is in Charlotte this year for the All-Star. He's gonna have a boost, and he's gonna want to have a good performance. But usually those don't pan over too well. Hometown heroes usually don't perform well in All-Star Weekend. I don't know if it's nerves or just the flukiness of these events, because these are quick one-time 60-second events. So the range of possible outcomes is just ridiculous. Steph Curry's even had bad racks before, and so you never really know with this event and basically all of these gimmicky games in All-Star Weekend. But yeah, I'll go with Damian Lillard. I just feel like it's his time. Damian has been in the contest before and hasn't won, and he's a great 3-point shooter, and I think he's someone who I think likes to put on a show. So I think he'll go for it. So the final event, the slam dunk contest. Now this is what has been the main event for the last, I think ever since it started, it was a main event. Yeah, it was. But it started in the Denver All-Star Game in 1976 during All-Star Weekend, which was the same year that the ABA NBA merger happened, but there would not be another slam dunk contest. So like there was like this, it started in 76, but then it didn't like become continuous until 1984, and since then there's been so many winners, so many changes. Like in the 80s, Larry, these are the people that won: Larry Nance, Dr. J, Dominique Wilkins, Ralph Sampson, Clyde Drexler, Michael Cooper. These are all Hall of Fame basketball players. And then in Dominique, again, Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan was also in the 80s. Spud Webb had his moments of shine. Man, it was just Spud Webb, was he a 2-time or a 1-time champion? I think he was just a 1-time. Yeah, it looks like he was just a 1-time champion. He was. But yeah, so it's had so many historic moments. I mean, you could just go down a YouTube rabbit hole of the greatest dunks in the history of the NBA Slam Dunk Contest. And this is something that they've tried to do several times. They've tried to reinvent it because over the last decade and a half, I'd say probably about 15 years now, the NBA stars who have been who traditionally it was the Michael Jordans, the Dominiques, the Vince Carters, the Kobes, the premier superstars in the league. It started with, as I remember, and I don't mean to put the burden on LeBron here, but I remember LeBron being one of like the first big superstars to be like, I'm not going to do the slam dunk contest because to me there's just, if I win, it doesn't do anything because I was assumed to have won already, and if I lose, it just messes with my legacy or whatever. I don't know what he was thinking at the time, but I really think that started the trend of allowing players and stars to kind of bow out of the contest, and that to me has always been the problem. It hasn't been, now granted we've had some dud years where just the dunks weren't performed well. Like there was one year, I believe it was 2015, where there was like 6 missed dunks, and it was just brutally hard to watch. But I really think that at the end of the day, what makes this event the best and what makes it the main event is that the superstars are the ones that are contributing to it and participating in it. Like Paul George was in it, Dwight Howard was in it. But there have been, in defense of the league, there have been some kind of no name guys, or not no name guys. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to imply disrespect, but some players that are just not of superstar caliber. Like Nate Robinson was one of the greatest and most entertaining dunk contest participants of all time. Shannon Brown was great. Gerald Green was great. So it doesn't always have to be superstars, but I think superstars make this event next level fun, because there's just a level there's a much higher level of interest when superstars are involved. And that being said, this year's list doesn't have a superstar or close to it, but it does have some young guys that I am extremely excited for. Miles Bridges of the Hornets, shout out Michigan State. John Collins of the Hawks, Dennis Smith Jr. of the Knicks, and Diallo of the Thunder. Now, if I had to take a pick, I want to pick Bridges just because of the MSU connection, and he's an awesome dunker. But I'll go Dennis Smith Jr. I've seen him dunk more than Miles Bridges, and I think he's somebody who actually really, really wants to win this event. I think he's someone that really takes pride in the dunk contest, much like Nate Robinson did. Like Nate Robinson, really, it was his goal to win the dunk contest. He wasn't just doing it for fun. Like, he really loved it and wanted to do it. So that kind of gives me, that kind of gives me comfort voting for him or picking him to win it. So I'll go with Dennis Smith Jr. But yeah, this is a very fun event. Hopefully it turns out good. It always puts a sour taste in your mouth when All-Star Weekend comes around, and this one isn't good and doesn't live up to the hype. It's always like, oh man, it's like, if you were a WWE fan like I was as a kid, and the main event just wasn't good, and it's just like, oh man, like, even though there were great matches before it, the main event is the main event. So when the main event flops, it kind of just leaves a sour taste in your mouth. But yeah, that's the All-Star Saturday night. That's my favorite night of the weekend. Now, before we get out of here real quickly, let's hit the All-Star game on Sunday night. Shout out to J. Cole and Meek Mill, who are performing at the halftime show. That will be a very, very fun. Performance. And who knows? Knowing J. Cole and how J. Cole is and operates, I could see him and Meek maybe performing a song that's unreleased that the two of them did. Or I don't know how this set's going to work, if it's going to be Meek and then Cole comes out. That's how I imagine it to be. But maybe, they're both on stage at the same time for a song or two. And, I would really love to watch this performance, because Cole is having an awesome year, and I think he's really leveled up in this last 16, 24 months. He's really leveled up ever since he took the criticism for the last album, the album they dropped before KOD, For Your Eyes Only. And Meek Mill, as we know, is one of the hottest names. He's been really, just ever since he overturned his court appeal, or won his court appeal with the Papa Wheelie situation. Those of you that are following rap know it very well. But ever since he won his court battle and got over his legal troubles, he has been super, super popular, and he has used that to kind of get a huge push from Rock Nation and from MMG. And he delivered a fantastic album last year called Champions. So check that out if you haven't heard that one. And he'll definitely be performing some hits off that. So let's jump to the All-Star game itself. That's enough rap talk. The All-Star list, I'll start there, just of the actual roster, to get kind of a little bit serious, step away a little bit from the games, and just kind of give you my thoughts on the on just the draft in general, or the rosters that are there for for the All-Star weekend. So, all right, I'm going to read you the All-Star rosters Sunday night's game. This is the main event of All-Star weekend. Let's get to it. I'm just going to read the full teams off. So, again, remember this was a draft between Giannis and LeBron. The funny thing is LeBron pretty much drafted everyone he was allegedly tampering with. So, which is very funny. I'll get into that. But starting with Team Giannis, so you got Giannis as a captain, followed by Steph Curry, Joel Embiid, Paul George, Kemba Walker, Blake Griffin, Nikola Jokic, Kyle Lowry, Chris Middleton. Dirk Nowitzki was added by Adam Silver for the legacy spot. Victor Oladipo, D'Angelo Russell, who is replacing the injured Kyle Lowry, Nikola Vucevic, and Russell Westbrook. Now, for Team LeBron, you have Kevin Durant, James Harden, Kyrie Irving, Kawhi Leonard, LeBron, of course, himself, LaMarcus Aldridge, Bradley Beal, Anthony Davis, Damian Lillard, Ben Simmons, Klay Thompson, Karl Anthony Towns, and the legacy spot, Dwayne Wade, which was cool that Dwayne Wade got to be with LeBron again, and that Giannis got Dirk for the European connection. So that was a pretty cool, neat touch. It's something that I was definitely a fan of. I'm glad Adam Silver added the legacy spot. Yes, it sucks that moving forward for other players that in the past that didn't get one, but this was a thing that was better late than never. And I think this is a wonderful addition that I think they should continue to incorporate. They don't have to do it every year, but the years when there's special retirements like Wade and Dirk, I think that's an awesome thing for the NBA to do. But yeah, it's funny with LeBron. Klay Thompson, Ben Simmons, Damian Lillard, Anthony Davis, Bradley Beal, Kawhi Leonard, Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant. All of these guys have been linked to LeBron within the last year about joining him in LA. So the tampering team, as they're being called. If I had to pick a team, I'm going with Team LeBron. Just the sheer fact that Anthony Davis is your sixth man is beyond bonkers now. Obviously, that comes from the way the draft order goes. You have to draft the starters first and then the reserves. But so Anthony Davis not being named a starter was obviously led to the problem that allowed him to be a sixth man. So super duper sixth man Anthony Davis, and then of course having LeBron, Kyrie, James Harden, Kevin Durant, Kawhi Leonard. That's a very good your turn, my turn team. Obviously, those are all five amazing isolation players, but those are really fun players to watch, and I think that they have a little bit more to offer than Team Giannis. But who knows with these All-Star Weekend events? They're also up in the air. But I'll take Team LeBron, and I think the MVP award will go to. I'm looking at the roster now. Who's gonna go for the MVP? You know what? I'll go with Harden. Harden is just getting buckets right now. He's on fire. He's in the zone. I think it's safe. Usually the guy with the most points wins the All-Star weekend or the All-Star game MVP. So James Harden, I think if LeBron's team wins, James Harden will get the MVP, I think. And if Giannis's team would win, I would probably predict Giannis to get the MVP just because he would be the lone guy that has like 15 to 20 rebounds somehow and like 40 points or something. You could have like a 40-20 game in this All-Star. Depending on the level of seriousness this All-Star is played with. But yeah, that will conclude the All-Star Weekend podcast. I am very, very excited for everyone to watch this. Please let me know your thoughts on Twitter, on Instagram, on all the social medias at Real Chris Platte. And as always, check out all of Sports Radio Detroit's content that they have to offer. All-Star Week is going to be a fun one, and I'm excited to watch it, and I can't wait to hear what you guys think. So once again, let me know on all of these social medias. Until next time, this is the Platte NBA Minute, and I am your host, Chris Platte. Thank you for tuning in. Enjoy your weekend. Enjoy All-Star Weekend. The best weekend of the year.
This has been an SRD production.